Hello dudes and dudettes. Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a study portrait kind of thing. Just a quick thing to loosen up my wrists, even though it's actually late night and I'm going to go to bed after this, but whatever, just get something extra in. Never hurts. So I figured I'd record it, because why not? So we got this screenshot right here off of the new Xmen stuff, and this is Storm, apparently. So I'm just gonna do something. I really don't know yet. That's kind of like I might stylize it a little bit. I'm not sure yet. So just kind of impulsive recording right now. Nothing really planned. So I'm gonna start by triangulating a few of these rough distances. Got this on a separate layer, and I'm not really going to worry too much about making a mess out of this because it doesn't really matter. So we got this point right here, right there. So the reason I use triangulation, or the reason people use triangulation, is because the triangle is the simplest shape possible, which means it is actually very easy to read and see distances and angles from, which is really what's important when you're trying to copy a figure. So, and you can see that you can like simplify a lot of these things into simple edges, and once you have a framework, it becomes easier and easier because you have more points of reference. It becomes easier and easier to copy something. So that's really this is really an amazing way to copy a photo to very, very close precision. Depends on how careful you are and stuff, I guess. So for example, there's an edge right there like that, and then we can maybe map this one. So actually I should map this point right here so I can use it as a frame point, as a reference point. It's about that angle. So I'm going to say that this is that angle. So I got this is a little off, which means that that point will be, well, coincidentally basically where I put it. And let's make this a point. So I got the chin right here, and it's not feeling very correct right now. Corner of the eye, bottom of the chin, corner of the eye, bottom of the chin. Definitely got some small issues here. Let's just grab a little bit more bluish, because we got a very nice. The reason I chose this picture, by the way, is because it has very nice lighting and color palette. It has a really strong, magenta kind of lighting with the yellow rim light and stuff. It's really nice, basically. They knew what they were doing when they lit this scene. I'm still not feeling terribly convinced here. I think this is probably going to be closer. Somewhere over there. That's a little cheating, but hey, turned out alright. So then we got this and that. I'm basically going to do this right now. So let's do this angle first. It's a little flatter. Okay. I'm going to show you. This is what I do mentally anyway. So now I have this angle. It's going to, you have to see this as a line that keeps going, but it's going to roughly stop somewhere here. But I want to find this point. It might be here, 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 I want to find out where exactly it stops. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a reference point I already have, which is, for example, that. And I'm going to draw a line through it. Kind of like that. And I want to recreate this line. Something like that. So it turns out to be fairly accurate to what I had already, which is this little light line here. And that means that this this other point right here is going to be somewhere along, like the end of the eyebrow is going to be somewhere along there. Okay. It does feel to be a little bit higher than this. So maybe something like that. Okay. And now I can copy this fairly easily. Something like that. And you can tell the difference in length fairly accurately. So this is going to be fairly correct right now. So I found this point right now, and now I can do more stuff. For example, this, you can just drag that through top of the forehead here, something like that. And of course, as you do this more and more, you're going to start to do this mentally a lot easier. And you can basically, like, you know, do it really fast. And you don't have to do all the construction lines and stuff. But if you're starting out, by the way, do not be afraid to just do all the construction lines. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in taking your time. In fact, if you're starting out, that's probably wise, is to take your time. And the reason I'm kind of explaining a little more, I guess this is a little more advanced stuff. Not very much, but it's not exactly your common, you know, stuff. Like flipping the canvas and whatnot is not really, it's pretty basic tips that you hear everywhere. The reason I'm doing that is because recently I started to like have a little bit of a problem with where, not a problem, but it's kind of frustrating where if I watch a video tutorial and I got a few gumroads and stuff like that, and I watch them, and it's like, you know, these gumroads were made by extremely good artists, right? That I really look up to, like they're far better than I am and stuff. And I thought like, okay, these dudes are gonna learn me some stuff here. Like I'm gonna get something out of this, right? And then I watched the gumroad, and it's all cookie cutter advice, basically. And I kind of started to think and search for stuff that is not cookie cutter. You know, like, you know, bind Control F to the flip canvas, whatever, and all this kind of advice that everyone does. And it's really kind of frustrating at a certain point that these video tutorials are marketed often to the very beginners. And I do this same thing a lot. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm going to try to focus a little bit more on, I guess, more advanced principles when I find the opportunity to. Because yeah, it really sucks at a certain point, because I really love watching video tutorials and learning from people who are better than me. But a lot of this, especially Gumroad stuff, is like marketed more towards the masses who are generally not that good. And that's not a, you know, I'm not trying to be a dick or anything. It's just how it is. So it's more marketed towards like the very early beginning artists. And the thing is, there's a lot of artists that are kind of like in between being a pro or very, very good and being like a beginner, you know? But really most of the tutorials and stuff are kind of focusing on the very beginner. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird. I find myself in this spot right now where I'm still having trouble getting a lot better. Not that I'm blaming the lack of tutorials or anything, but it's definitely not helping, you know? So I'm gonna zoom in now that I got like a framework, I guess, which I feel is relatively correct. It may not be, but I think if I start to measure a few of these things, like the ear's fine there, this part a little bit too low. That is, I admit to cheating a little bit here, but I'm just kind of checking so that I don't waste too much time if I don't have this correct, I'm gonna be in trouble, you know, later on. So I'm gonna check real quick and see if I have these roughly correct. And they are pretty much spot on. Well, not spot on. They're pretty much in the vicinity of where they should be. So this is good. I don't want to get too much into line art or anything. So I'm just going to move on to a new layer. And here I'm going to try to actually sketch freehand, I guess. So I'm just looking mostly at the reference here, and I'm gonna try to like think less about it, I guess. This might end disastrous, but it's good training. I just want to block in the facial features. So probably this is too low, although when I flip it, it does look fairly okay, so that's good. Okay, get this in. I might want to like, maybe I want to stylize this a little bit because I really like her facial features, like especially her mouth and her nose are very cool. Her eyes are too, actually, but I really like this area. It's very, you know, there's a lot of forms going on there, some specular here that I really like. So I'm probably gonna like accentuate this stuff if I can. And take a little step away from the original ref there if I find the ability to. So let me see what my image size is here. That could be a bit bigger. I usually tend to go to 3000. I don't know why, it seems like an okay number. It gives me a little more smooth feeling. It's very hard to describe, but when I have more pixels, it feels almost like I'm sculpting more versus this annoying Photoshop-y, you know, feeling. So let's draw in the eyes. This is a pretty big deal because it's going to immediately give the drawing a little bit of life here. This is a big moment, and I do not want to mess this up too much. Definitely need to get these eyelashes in. She's not looking very accurate here. So the thing about eyes is that even if it's not matching the reference, the only thing you really need to do is make sure that they are matching each other. So I can mess these up versus the reference, but they really have to look okay compared to one another. That's the important bit. So if you're going to do like the pupils too big or whatever, which is kind of the case here, just make sure that they're both the same, you know, distortion, I guess. And then it's basically fine. This is kind of a problem I run into quite often, where I tend to mess up the eyes versus one another, basically. And that's not good. Definitely not good. I'm gonna move this up a little bit, and then let's do that, and this. Move these up just a few pixels. All right. Still something off about the eyes. I'm gonna, instead of trying to save this, I'm gonna just redo them. So I'm liking this eye, but this one, not so much. So let's do this. And concentrate a little bit. This eyebrow is angled not perfectly. I think I see what the problem is here. She's still looking kind of like almost cross-eyed. This is actually, like I said, this is always where I mess up, so I want to make sure that this is relatively okay before I do anything else. Still not feeling quite good. Take a step back here, do the ears in the meantime. Just taking a breather away from the eyes so I have a fresh look. Oh yeah, it's really derpy. Even those couple of seconds there that I kind of like did something else, shone a new light on the eyes, revealing really messed upness. Let me just be bold here and just freaking redo the whole thing. And all right. That's more like it. Okay. I'm starting to like this look right now. It's not accurate. It's not exactly the same. But that's okay. In fact, maybe I can rise this a little bit. The whole thing. Okay. And all right, I accept this as a baseline. So now what I'm going to do is the best thing for speed sketches in my experience is going to just paint this in with a big ass airbrush, basically. So let me just grab a new layer. I'm going to put this below the thing and we're just going to go crazy. Let's grab a color here. Actually, I'm going to start by having a look. I think it's more towards red in the darkest bit here. This is too blue, so let me heat that up a little bit. Saturate it a little bit more. I'm liking this, I think. Maybe a little bit darker. Alright. So I'm going to quickly block this in. Like so. And now I can go soft and really lightly start to paint in these areas. So this edge right here, the far edge, is obviously a lot redder, so it's less magenta. Whoa, whoopsie. So we're gonna do exactly that. And then we have a little bit more grayish. A little bit of that, a little bit of this. The reason I'm using an airbrush is obviously I think you can see how much easier this makes it. You know, you're just really gradually gonna start to build up these kind of forms here. And it's a really big brush too, which gives you less of a headache. You don't have to do as much physical work, and you know, your decisions are highly impactful, which is what you want at this phase. You want everything to be very, you know, you want every decision that you make to be a big one when you're just starting out on a painting. And the longer you work at it, the smaller and insignificant the decisions become. Unless you redo areas, of course. Okay. So now let's grab my Gandalf the White, which is a color dodge brush. So it has, oh, you can't see that. It's set to color dodge mode, basically. And I'm just gonna put it on white. Illuminate this far side a little bit, erasing it back out. And now I can actually do this on the other bits as well. Again, I'm staying loose. I'm not coloring within the lines. It's not necessary. Let's grab a blue here. And now I got a regular ass brush again. This is my Bilbo, which is basically a default brush. That's why I named it Bilbo. It's one of the basic ones, along with Frodo. Just gonna start blocking in some of these quite saturated values here. So these specklers are kind of feeling cold to me, so I'm gonna move them up to blue a little bit more. Let's put in these eyes real quick. And then we got sort of a specular over here that's a lot warmer. You might notice that most of my color decisions are happening on the color wheels, so I'm not really color picking too much from the actual painting. And this is gonna help fight the kind of muddiness feeling that you get from digital art, where everything desaturates slowly. Okay, let's put in some color on these lips and a little bit warmer. And let's block a bit of this here. What I do here is I use the color thing, which is under window color, and then I set it to lab. And LAB is basically a color mode which instead of splitting up in RGB, for example, which is red, green, blue, it splits up in lightness, A and B. So all the color information is actually stored in only 2 channels somehow, magically. And they have a lightness slider, which works a lot better than a value slider because it also changes the hue and saturation slightly as you go darker and lighter. So it really works a lot better, in my opinion, than just using a value slider or anything like that. So when I really quickly want to change the value, I just use the slider. And it tends to be alright. It's not perfect though. It doesn't behave like real life or whatever, obviously. But it's close. Let's get my Gandalf the Grey, which is a overlay airbrush, and put in some of these yellows here. A little bit more towards yellow. These highlights are so strong that I'm probably gonna have to paint them in manually like this. Alright, as a base anyway. And now that we're getting a little bit of value here, I'm gonna actually take my line layer, lock it for transparency, which you can also set to a shortcut, by the way. And I can start to paint in these lines a little bit, because nothing is more annoying than having black lines show up and having to work them away slowly. So what I do is I tend to pick a slightly darker version of whatever is around it, And you can even do like rim lights and stuff like that. Like that. Very useful. Okay, and now I'm just going to copy merge everything. So now I have one flat layer on top of everything, and I can just go wild, I guess. No more layer stuff. I'm just gonna start painting. So at this point we have our base, we have the measurements fairly okay, we have a basic value and color range already put in, so we have all the tools basically to make this painting. And at this point there are very little worries, I guess you could say. So this is the spot where I like to be at. My measurements are done, my colors are in, most of my values are in, and everything's flattened onto a single layer, so this is about as simple as it gets as far as a painting. Using my gun left the gray here again, I can shade it in a little bit. Oh, I shouldn't have color picked there. That was just a muscle memory kind of thing, because I do that for reference, for portfolio work and stuff. I don't really care about color picking from photos. So I want this color though, I still want it, so I'm gonna find it instead. It's gonna be a little bit darker still, a little bit bluer, a little bit desaturated, maybe over the top. That's okay though. Now what I'm finding though is that I get a little bit of a hint of like cyan here. It's probably not actually there, it's probably more of a, you know, a trick on the eye, but I'm just gonna take that info. I'm actually gonna test this just for sake of demonstration. See, it's not actually cyan, but it feels almost cyan because of the surrounding stuff. But because it feels like that, I might as well actually do that and just push that that color variation. So I like to pick up on these, you know, optical illusions, I guess, and like actually play them out. So that way you can force in some other color into your painting that isn't actually there, but, and it's also like the complete opposite of the surrounding area, but it's fine, like it looks okay. I use my Gandalf the Grey a lot with white and black to just kind of adjust some values here and there, because it's set to overlay, which means it's just gonna like, it's gonna do an okay job. It's not perfect, like you can really blow it out and it's gonna start turning ugly and stuff, but it's not the worst thing in the world, you know. So especially for quick things. For this hair and some other areas, I am using a mixer brush. That is a lot to explain though, so I'm not really going to bother going into that right now in this video. How the mixer brush works anyway. I think I actually did that before somewhere in another video. If not, I'll make sure to do that sometime soon, because the mixer brush is very interesting and useful. Let's see how long we've been going actually, I don't really know. About 30 minutes, that's okay. Especially considering I'm talking and stuff through this. Makes it a little bit harder. Let me change up the mixer brush here to something more soft. I want to just test this value right here. Oh, it is still off actually. I'm surprised. Some highlights on this nose. As you can see, it is really rough. Like, I'm not too worried about like all these edges and stuff right now. If I was doing a long, detailed portrait, I would take care a lot more. But I think I'm gonna like not go too much beyond 45 minutes. This whole chin is a lot lighter. This area is bothering me too. In the reference, the eye is very dark, so I'm just going to try and capture that as well. Okay. Let's mix up the brush a little bit because I don't know, I just kind of want to not get into using one brush all the time. It might bring up some interesting effects and stuff if I just mix up the brush every now and then. Nope, not that one. How about using Boromir a little bit? That's okay. I do want to get this edge really correct, which it is not right now. It's a bit better. Quickly use a lasso tool. Selection there. And let's do the same thing here. And then below here. Like that, and like that. Because painting all this by hand would be a nightmare. And then of course, let's make this all bluish, more bluish. Nope, that's not working. Let's do color instead, actually. I want to see if I can really quickly grab this background a little bit. For the sake of safety, I really quickly copy merged it to a new layer and locked the transparency with a couple of shortcuts. So now I can do this. This is not the correct color though, so let me quickly go color again and move it to the right one. Now I can lighten up some more. Get an eraser airbrush. Okay, good enough. Let's get Frodo in here. Fix this edge a little bit. And my mixer brush as well. And I've been going for 36 minutes. That's okay. Too much. At this point, there's really not much to say. I'm kind of struggling to find stuff. It's very straightforward from now on. It has been since the line drawing has been done and stuff. So, other than kind of messing with brushes a little bit and knowing your values and stuff, which you can check by the way, like that. She's a little bit lighter overall, and the line drawing is not accurate, now that I see that, but like her whole face is tilted a little bit more, I guess. Or at least it feels like it, but it still looks okay as a drawing. Somewhat. Maybe I'll move her ear a little bit. There's also, of course, there's always the possibility that I'm biased right now because I've been looking at it for 38 minutes and 10 seconds. And that happens. So maybe there's like glaring mistakes that you guys are seeing and I'm not. Totally possible. And probably very frustrating for you guys. If that is the case. Let's get a funkier brush in here. Add some texture to this. Got a little bit of a little bit of subsurface scattering going on here. Feels like around the ears, so I'm gonna take a really hot color and very softly glaze it over the top here. Okay, concentrating a little bit for the finishing touches. Let's get a little bit more of a dark streak going on there for the core shadow, or the what's it called? Oh, I don't know what it's called. Who am I kidding? The whatever it's called. The part of the shadow right before it goes into light. The darkest part. That's what I'm trying to talk about here. Boy, am I good at tutorializing. I don't even know the names of stuff. I'm sure someone will do me the favor of letting me know what I meant there. Hint, hint. Her eye is too wide. So I'm noticing a lot of the errors, I guess, are definitely from the area where I went a little more freestyle. And that's normal. That's okay. It's just showing me I need to practice a lot more. So most of the discrepancies will probably wow, I can't talk. It is really late, by the way, guys. Like, the reason I'm not like super active or at all engaging here is because it's freaking like early morning and I've been working for a long time. Anyway, what was I talking about? Yeah, most of the discrepancies are probably going to be the facial features, which I kind of free-handed, and that's normal because it's really hard to copy an image just free-handed. That's very difficult, especially on the first try. So that's okay. I'm gonna take a blur thingy here and see if I can blur out these areas a little bit, because not all this stuff needs to have a hard edge here. Put it on normal. Let's get another blue highlight. So the shirt or the costume areas, obviously not accurate at all, but I don't really care about it, so that's okay. Shoot me. Or sue me. I guess it is. Yeah, I'm about to hit 45, which I guess was an arbitrary goal I set. So I'm gonna call it pretty much here for 15 more seconds. Light up this bad boy rim light a little bit, give it some atmospheric lighting over the top. Everyone loves over the top glowy rim lights, so that's good. That's 45. I'm gonna quit here, and yeah, let me quickly try something just at the end here to have a look. I want to do a liquefy and just see how it looks if I push back the side of the face a little bit, because now that I look at it I see kind of a bulge. Not exactly what I want. It's loading up. I don't know why, but liquefy takes forever to load when I do it the first time. Anyway, right there. That really does help, actually. Let's see, before and after. Oh yeah, I prefer that much more. I'm gonna keep that just because I can. It doesn't matter. So let's call this that. And that's it. Thank you for watching this quite boring video. I just figured I'd record it because otherwise I'm just, you know, just painting. So whatever. All right, I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.